I'm exceedingly grateful to be born in the civilized world. Now, some attribute the success of Western society to what is known as free thought. Such people might claim that the U.S. constitutional right to freedom of religion more accurately ensures freedom from religion. And it is free thought, they would claim, that has so liberated us from all the ignorant religions that, in their thinking, have only caused death and suffering for so many centuries. But it seems to me that despite its dark chapters, religion has been more of an inspiration for the good throughout history than for the bad. Consider that charity in the US, a relatively religious country, significantly exceeds the charity of other Western countries, most of which are substantially secular or atheist. Consider the statistics of private individuals in the US who are affiliated with traditional religion who give charity to the percentage of private secular or atheist individuals who contribute to charitable causes. I refer to the percentage of private individuals who donate to charities that provide food, clothing, and shelter for the poor, education for children in undeveloped nations, and so forth. And when you consider what percentage of secularist charity actually goes toward funding for free abortion clinics or gay propaganda or political campaigns, and you subtract these monies from their overall giving, you then see that the gap is even greater between the rates of charity among secularists and people of faith, insofar as charity for the hungry and destitute is concerned. Atheists like to nobly bewail what kind of God would allow children to die of starvation, as though atheists nobly champion the cause. But most of the private charity that the starving receive isn't coming from the pockets of atheists. And if you want to say that they give charity via the taxes they paid towards governmental programs, well, those of faith pay the same taxes, and yet on top of that, people of faith still give more. Statistics show that secularists and atheists are more prone to encourage bigger and more powerful government. The more powerful the government, the more potential there is for greater corruption. God doesn't cause the problem of hunger in our world. Man does, especially corrupt government. Statistics show that religion helps fight poverty and hunger more than atheism or secularism, and more than big government. There is plentiful enough food in the world to distribute to all the hungry in the world. The problem is that ungodly people prevent the food from reaching those who desperately need it. I don't think that spreading an amoral philosophy will do much to overcome such tyranny. If even leaders who espouse moral principles sometimes give in to the illusions of corruption, what makes us think that leaders who espouse moral relativism would be any better? Don't flatter yourselves, O nobly ethical atheists. You yourselves admit that your ethics rest on no absolutes. Charity for the weak is counterintuitive for those who seek evolutionary advantage. Survival of the fittest isn't the slogan you want to associate with when it comes to ethics. But if there is no God, then ethical treatment of the less fortunate should be regarded as no more noble than self-centeredness, if not less so. Yet, while I admit that many modern researchers have been religiously unaffiliated, their work rests on foundations established over the span of thousands of years by brilliant theistic minds, from Aristotle to Sir Isaac Newton. Many of the world's most prestigious universities that produce some of today's leading scientists were originally established as religious schools and seminaries. Who gave more self-sacrifice for the betterment of humanity and made greater impact on society? Individuals such as Martin Luther King, Gandhi, and Mother Teresa? Individuals who were driven by deep religious conviction? Or the likes of Stephen Hawking? Advances in science and technology are great, but they can have horrific consequences when in the wrong hands. Have you really researched into the human death toll at the hands of secular regimes relative to the tragedies of religion throughout history? I think if you would do so with intellectual honesty, you would not be so quick to rejoice in the lessening of religion in Western societies. I don't need to whitewash the crimes of religious leaders and institutions throughout history in order to appreciate the positive influence of religion in the past and present, any more than an atheist feels compelled to reject the theory of human evolution simply because self-proclaimed free thinkers have on several occasions used the theory of human evolution to justify their racially motivated murders and genocides, with victims far exceeding the death toll of the Crusades. I say this as neither a Catholic nor a Christian. Could it be that the heinous crimes of secular regimes are the fault of extremists, not reflective of moderate secularism? Might the world be at peace if moderate views would predominate? To that I would have to ask, can anything be labeled as extreme or not moderate without first clarifying the scale that defines these terms? One may say that extremism is anything that is outside of the social norm. that what is ethically right or wrong is determined by the feelings and opinions of the majority. That sounds simple enough, but how then could we say that the religious tragedies of the past were unethical in times and places wherein the majority deemed those tragedies either necessary or reasonable? If the majority in the Third Reich were in favor of killing Jews, Jehovah's Witnesses, and homosexuals, then how was it ethically wrong? And even if perhaps the majority were not in favor, they were passive. So would that make being passive in such a case ethical, simply because the majority are passive? If right and wrong, extremism and moderateness are dependent upon social norms, then wouldn't that make atheism and secular humanism wrong and extremist in a country where such is the minority view? Surely not. Oh, and if you want to say it's becoming more mainstream, well, so long as it's not yet the mainstream, how is it the social norm? With that kind of thinking, you could conclude that radical Islam is the acceptable and reasonable social norm to adopt in those countries where radical Islam is the most quickly spreading philosophy. In order for there to be maximum sustainable peace in the world, there must be some recognized determining factor for right and wrong that transcends time and place, not merely the whims of social norms. And how could we be justly held responsible or liable for violating the standard for right and wrong if no such standard really exists, if no standard was ever given? The determining factor for right and wrong must be a reality that transcends time and place, and that factor is the Creator who transcends time and space. And we could not be justly held liable for unethical actions were it not that the Creator gave mankind a standard. Consider Torah. Consider Judaism. Please visit bejewish.org.